It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent. One of the largest data center projects in the country is happening right here in Michigan, in the small farming community of Saline Township. Southwest of Ann Arbor, Saline Township is home to roughly 2,300 people. Many of the folks there didn't want a data center. Their board voted against it. Their neighbors packed the meeting hall. Then the lawsuit came. The companies are Oracle and OpenAI. Together, they're worth more than $1 trillion. The township couldn't justify the fight. It settled, and construction began. Governor Gretchen Whitmer calls it the largest single investment in Michigan history. It will use more electricity than an average nuclear reactor produces. State lawmaker Morgan Foreman represents the district where it's being built. She says her constituents were not partners in this project. They were bystanders to it. She joins me now, Representative Foreman. Welcome to the Metro.
Hi, Robyn. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being so patient while we worked through some technical difficulties. It's really nice to have you on the show. I want to start with your constituents because many of them oppose this project, and so did local leaders. To the best of your knowledge, what are their main concerns with the data center project?
Thanks for that question. So my constituents began to reach out to my office shortly after this was announced, right? And I found out about it about 4 minutes before it was announced after the stock market was about to close. So I found about 4 minutes beforehand. And so constituents began to reach out to me, namely one who was my middle school librarian. And she had concerns about groundwater contamination, noise pollution, construction, which we're seeing the issues with already. I sat downtown Saline about a month ago, and honestly, probably in 2 hours, 100 or so gravel trucks went by at really fast speeds that are unsafe. So they are very concerned about what this means for their community. They don't want it there. Now, I'll be very transparent and say, since I've represented this community and before when I was staff in this community, I don't have any contact with Saline Township leadership. Saline City and I are great. Saline Township, I've been told that they said they don't recognize me as their representative, and they have a tendency not to vote democratically, and that's fine. But they don't communicate with me. So I do feel very bad that they were in a position where they had to settle and they didn't have the money to fight back. But I really wish that I could have been lockstep with them to try to fight back against this and the MPSC because the community, and as many other communities in Michigan, don't want to see data centers here.
Representative Foreman, you are describing a difficult position that you're in right now. I mean, you mentioned that your middle school librarian is someone who contacted you about this, and that goes to show us the very short lines of connection that we often have with local leaders, with state lawmakers. You know, this is really emblematic of that. The fact that your former middle school librarian could call you up and complain to you about this. And so I'm guessing that really struck a chord with you. But then at the same time, you're saying you don't have a relationship with the leaders of Saline Township, whom it's my understanding there are now residents who are engaged in a recall effort because of this.
Yeah, I've read that. And I, understand that that's what the residents want to do. I think that it is great that my middle school librarian could call the office. She recognized me. She knew who I was. And we had talks about this at a coffee hour. People came to my coffee hours to talk about the data center. And, when I was introduced to data centers, it was never a positive thing, right? And I understand, though, the need for data centers. AI is growing, technology is growing. We're moving towards a much more electrified environment as well. So I understand the need for them, but I think that there's a different way to do it. And one of the ways I was introduced to it is through my work outside of the chamber with the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway Caucus through the Council of State Governments. I am the chair of the Task Force on Emerging Contaminants. And I've actually listed data centers as an emerging contaminant because I believe, along with microplastics, PFAS, all these other things that are happening to our water and our groundwater and our just environment, the data centers are going to cause a lot of harm. And we've seen the harm that they've caused in other communities, especially minority communities in the South. I've talked to other legislators in other states, and they have the same issues. I've talked to legislators as far as Quebec, and they are having the same issues with large scale AI and tech companies wanting to come in and then try to remedy it back, and say, hey, let's put a community person in and let's work with the community after we've already dug up someone's front yard to put a data center in there. So I think that we really have to, and like I said, I've signed on to a couple of bills and resolutions to put a moratorium on these things. A lot of communities around us, even Pittsfield, where I live, has put a moratorium on these. We have to have a better understanding and a better relationship with companies before they come into Michigan. I want Michigan to grow. I believe that we need to innovate. I believe that we were one of the greatest innovators in this nation. We put the world on wheels. But are we growing too fast? And is this, and if people don't want it, is that going to diminish our population, which is already diminishing? There's so many questions and what ifs here. And I think a bigger issue is the MPSC and them approving everything that DTE wants them to do.
The Michigan Public Service Commission.
Yes.
And I do want to look at what's happening there, especially when it comes to Attorney General Dana Nessel, who is fighting the commission over this. What I'm hearing from you, I want to make sure I've got this right, though, is that you're not advocating for slamming on the brakes when it comes to data centers, but you are advocating for taking the foot off of the accelerator. And right now what you're seeing is a very heavy, a lead foot on the accelerator here in Michigan and in many other places. And so I think do I have that right? I see you nodding right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that at some point we're going to need the data centers, right? But there are so many other ways that I've heard that can be done. In some places, they put them underground because of the heat. And this is like in European countries. I've heard that they put them underground because of the heat that they produce can warm a city. The electrical grid that is needed is out of control. And I understand right now that DTE raises their rates, it seems like every other day, and people are already struggling to make ends meet. We cannot let Michiganders foot the bill for these things.
Representative Foreman, you served as a constituent services director before running for office.
Yes.
And that means you spent years listening to people in your district describe how the government failed them. As you outline all of this, it has me really wondering, where does this project rank when you think about the ways that people have talked about the government failing them?
Right now, it's ranking at the top because one of the things that I heard about when I was a constituent services director before I left to run for office was energy and the reliability of the grid. And so people already feel like there's no heart or person in government, like that we're just the people who are governing are just shells and they just go and vote for these interests and things like that. And that's, at least on my part, that's not true. Like, I don't take any corporate money, I don't take any money from utilities. And so my community has stated that this is not something that they want to have to live with. And it's essential for any community to say, if I don't want to live with something, I don't want to live with something. I saw this play out over the last few summers with gas stations, these large scale gas stations like Sheets and things like that coming into communities. People said they didn't want them there, and they're not there. The people of the community have a right to say no. And I think that large tech, the MPSC, need to listen to the community, because I think there's still power in the people. And when the people revolt, the people will get what they want.
It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent. My guest is State Representative Morgan Foreman. She represents the district that includes Saline Township. That's where a $16 billion data center is being built against many residents' wishes. We're talking about what happened and what comes next. And Representative Foreman, I want to stay on this topic of power, because when we strip away the policy language, at its core, this is a power struggle, as you have described. On one side, we've got a, 2,300 person township. On the other side, we have $2 trillion companies, a developer with billions in financing, the governor who has celebrated this to some extent, calling it the single largest investment in Michigan's history. And now we have a court order that's pushing everything along. Construction has begun. Attorney General Dana Nessel is appealing the Michigan Public Service Commission, which you have mentioned a few times, the MPSC. Is she the only one left with real leverage right now?
Attorney General Nessel has been with me every step of the way, especially once I really learned that my community was vehemently against this. And so her and I and some other leaders held a press conference a while ago. We talked about this. She has pressed so hard to get this, to get a public comment period, for them to do their due diligence. It So I think that she is the only one with the real leverage right now, because
Really?
she's the only one that can actually sue. She's the only person that it's her and then the people, right? It's the people and then her. Either way, the people of the community have power and she has power. I got honestly largely cut out of the conversation. I had I had colleagues writing letters to the Michigan Public Service Commission, saying how much they supported this. That was this data center that's not in their district, this project, and all of this. I got largely cut out of the conversation, and it was very frustrating for me. And so I just think that it's not unreasonable to do the things that the attorney general is asking, that I am asking, that the community is asking. But what we're met with is this our way or the highway. And at this point, I could really say they can go on back down 23 and find somewhere else to put their large scale data center. At the very least, take your foot off the gas and let's have some conversations and meet the community, and let's see where we can meet. But if you can't do that, then bye.
Representative Foreman, why do you think you have gotten, as you've described it, cut out of the process here?
I feel like for two reasons. One, I feel like people didn't think that it was going to matter. They thought that it's going to happen anyway. So why talk to the representative or the legislators in that area? I can't speak for Senator Irwin as well, but I don't know what his process in it either. I don't think that he probably found out the same time that I did. And then I think that when companies and people decide what they're going to do, they're just going to do it. So they didn't feel like they had to talk to me, because they knew that I was going to work in the best interest of my community, and the best interest of my community is representing them and their needs, and they don't want it. So they went along with the people, even my colleagues that would support this, and colleagues who prior, because I don't have a voting history on this, voted for the tax abatements for the data centers.
I want to think about what's happening among some of your colleagues right now. I mean, you are a Democrat, and in the race for governor, The leading Democratic candidate is Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Her husband, Ryan Fredericks, is a vice president at Related Companies. Now, that is the parent of Related Digital, which is the developer that sued Saline Township to get this data center built. Now, in March, Fredericks announced he was moving to a new role at the company that focuses on projects outside Michigan. The campaign has said he would recuse himself from any state business if Benson is elected. I am wondering, has this come up with your constituents, and does it complicate getting Democratic leadership to take this seriously?
That's a really good question. So what I can say is that um, I believe that, like with my constituents, it has come up very briefly during coffee hours. But I think that people are still waiting right now in the governor's race, especially to see how the primary plays out, right? And see what decisions they're going to make. I feel like we have a lot of late decision makers right now. Um, in this race, you have some people who are gonna, vote blue no matter who. They're gonna vote red, and then we do have this independent candidate this year. So I think that that's gonna play out. I understand the concerns about Secretary Benson's husband, but I also feel like that, and like, let me be fully transparent. I have endorsed her for governor because she is the leading Democrat. But I feel like there can be a separation there. And if he's agreed to recuse himself, like that's his business, and like that is his work and that's his bread and butter. I'm not going to get involved in that. The only thing I'm going to get involved in is how these affect our communities, and that I think that she has committed to public hearings about these things, transparency and disclosure, requiring developers to prove prior to construction that the data center will not abuse natural resources. Like, there are commitments that she wants to see in these things, and those are not commitments that I see being made currently in the projects that are being proposed across the state.
Representative Foreman, thank you for being transparent and thoughtful about this. I want to end on this note. As you have mentioned, voters are going to be picking a governor in November, and you've talked about some things that you think Democratic candidate Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is doing when it comes to transparency and data centers that give you some level of confidence. I'm wondering, what's the one question that you think your constituents should be asking every candidate about data centers?
The question I think that my constituents should be asking, and every Michigander should be asking, is why Michigan? Why here? We have all of this fresh water. We have great natural resources. We have land. We actually have brownfields. I used to be a brownfield commissioner in Washtenaw County. We actually have brownfields that would be great for these things. I guess, this one in Saline is supposed to be like the best kind of data center you could have. It's closed loop, all these things, which I'm not a scientist or an engineer, so I don't, but why Michigan? Why are you choosing here?
State Representative Morgan Foreman, she represents the district that includes Saline Township, which is where one of the largest data centers in the country is being constructed. Representative Foreman, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Robyn.
It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent. Up next, there's a lot of turmoil in our national politics. Some people are trying to build a movement to make change locally. We'll find out more about the effort to recall Oakland County Chair Dave Woodward. That's next on the Metro. Stay with us.